Hello and welcome to the wonderful world of Power Query. This is Trisha Jatyani, and in this tutorial, I'm going to introduce you to this most powerful data analysis tool in Excel. Power Query was first introduced as an add-in in Excel 2013 and was made available in Excel 2010 through a download. In Excel 2013, it was called Power Query, but was renamed to Get and Transform in Excel 2016 and was again renamed to Power Query in 2019. So when I say these years, this means I'm talking about the versions of Excel. So I'm saying 2019 Excel, it had Power Query again. Power Query is all about transforming data. It allows you to export data from different sources, and those sources can be any application that you use, like an Access or SQL, or even from a website. It allows you to, after exporting, clean and transform the data, and then load the transformed data into Excel to make your file ready for analysis and for creation of dashboards. Now, you might think you can do this manually too, like in Excel. Why use the Power Query? So, the special thing about Power Query is that it saves all the steps performed inside the Power Query, and then when you get the same report with the updated data, a click on the refresh button will repeat all the steps, and the transform data will be ready for the further analysis. So before we keep on talking about it, let's understand what is Power Query and how it works. So now that we have understood there are some steps that Power Query saves, but where does it save? Or how do you transform your data? So in order to understand that, let's first understand how is the Power Query come into play in Excel. When I work with a Power Query, I need to first have a data in Excel which I can start transforming. I'm going to start with the basic of how to export the data from other sources. Not necessary that you have to export data. You can actually start working on the Power Query to transform your data, even if your data is already available in Excel. So let's first start with, if you did not have a data in Excel but wanted to export it from another source. Let me export it from an Excel file itself. In order to do that, you open an Excel sheet, a blank sheet, go on to the data tab from your ribbon and click on the get data option from the ribbon, which is under get and transform data group. Once you click on get data, you have a number of options that you can pick up from. One is from the file. So when I say from the file, there are a number of options that you can pick up from. You can export the data from the workbook, from the CSV, from the PDF, from folders, a number of places that you can pick up. We can get into detail a little later. From database, so it can be from a SQL server database or even the Access database that we spoke about. So a number of databases that you can see other sources also available, and from other sources you have other options from table or range, from web, which we already spoke about, that you can actually get it from the website, from Microsoft Query, and from the other sources that is mentioned here. As of now, I'm going to start to pick up or export data from one of the files that are already available in my system on an Excel sheet. So I'm going to go to from workbook because it is not already there in this workbook. I need to export data from another workbook. So I went into data, and from there I said from another workbook. Now where do I want? I will have to browse that to the place where I want to pick up the data from. So let's say I want to pick up the data from one of the systems here, where I can see that I can pick up the data from one of the files where I have already browsed to. Let me say I'm picking up data for 2020, and I pick up that data or click on that data and I say import. As soon as I say import, a Power Query or a navigator window will open up, which you will see that it is connecting to. So once it opens that navigator window, Under the navigator window, it asks you which data that you want to pick. Now, if you had not seen that data, you might be confused as to which data you want to pick up. So might be you want to just go and browse through that file. Come to that file. I'm going to open this, and here let me see what opens up. Let's just see the data so that we know what we want to pick up in Excel, or what do we want to be exported to Excel. So here you see that you have the data information in sheet 1 and it is converted into table. The table name that you can see is given as the sales as a table name. Now I can go back, close the sheet, and let's see, we can try again. I go on to data, from file, from workbook, same place. I'll pick up the 2020 data, and if you don't know what is there in the file, you can always in from the navigator window also check which file do you really want to download. But I just wanted to be sure about it, so then I'll check it before even getting into it. So I'm going to click on sales because that is the table that I want to pick up, and I can see that this data is being picked up from the sheet 1. Yeah, so even if you go on to sheet 1, you can still see the same data because that data is available in sheet 1. And here you are with all the data. Once you have the sales information or sheet 1, whichever you want to, you can either just click on load, which will load the data onto your Excel spreadsheet, which is open, or even if you ask Excel where you want to load it, that can also be done. So now this is how you get your load data. Let me say that I'm just going to say load or load to. If I just click, it will automatically load the data onto my Excel sheet from A1. But if I say load to, it will allow me, or it will give me options to load the data to a particular place, to a particular cell, to a particular sheet that I decide to give as an option. So that gives me more option to decide on where it should stay. Plus, it also asks me whether I want it in a table form, that means just the data form, or do you want it in a pivot table report form, that means it will directly run into a pivot table and it will not give me any table or any data to look at. Then you have pivot chart, of course, it will go on to the chart, and the last one is only connections. Now, connections is something that will come a little later in the next tutorials, but we can always look at which one we want to pick up. So let's say I want to say as of now the table, and say instead of new worksheet, I'll go to existing worksheet and start from A1 where I'm saying existing worksheet, and A1, it has already been A1. So I'll just click OK, and here you go. So you have this data already updated here. Now if you make any changes to the another sheet, so let's say if you make a change in one of the data sheets to revenue, change to any other number, you might have to come into this and just click on the refresh button from the table design, or just right click on this to refresh it, or the third way to do that is just click on this refresh button that you see on the right. Either of these things will work if you make any changes to your source. That means if you make any changes to this source, which we have here, it will automatically get updated on this if you click on the refresh button. It's as simple as updating your data. So this is how you get your load data.
Congratulations on completing the business dashboard using Excel course. Ready to elevate your career? Join our postgraduate certificate in data science and AI and gain exclusive benefits like a complimentary Python programming bootcamp, 7+ case studies, dedicated student support, and access to our job opportunities portal. Don't miss out on this chance to transform your career. Invest in yourself today and join our program. Click on the link in the description to enroll now and take the next step in your career journey.
Now this was about how you load your data into the Excel sheet. But let's see how you can also transform it before loading it. So if we did not just load it, wanted to transform it, in that case, I will perform the action again to see how we are going to do it there. So here I am on that file, I picked it up, and instead of just loading it, I would want to first transform the data. When I say transform, I want to make few changes to this data or just do some cleaning of the data. In that case, I will not go on to Excel, but I will actually go on to the Power Query to transform that data or clean that data to make sure that the data is ready for the further analysis. So I'll just click on transform data. Once I click on the transform data, this is where your Power Query editor window opens up. So far we did not know how does the Power Query start or how does it look. This is how your Power Query window looks. So as soon as you click on the data or on the transform, it automatically opens the Power Query window for you. Now just understand a couple of things when it comes to Power Query. This window which you have here, this is where the data is saved. You can easily see that it says 8 columns and 100 rows. Column profiling based on the top 1000 rows. So it is only taking the top 1000 rows of the data. But anyways, we only have 100 rows in this data. So that doesn't matter to us. So it should be fine. Another thing that you can see is it says queries here where the queries are saved. So if you have too many queries or even 2, 3 queries, all the queries will be loaded here or it will be shown here. You can just make it a little small so the window becomes bigger here. On the right hand side, which says query settings, you have the name of the query. So this name is automatically picked up from the table name. You can always change the name of the query by just entering the table or name, entering the query name here. So sales for, let's say sales 2020. You can call them like that. So it automatically changes the name. Now if you come a little down, it says applied steps. These are the steps that have been applied to this particular query and it is saved here. So whenever you come and refresh the data, or anything changes or updates the data, it will automatically perform these steps which are given here and then give you the result on your Excel sheet. So you don't have to perform the action and again. It's just like a lot of time we rely on VBA or the macro to perform these actions because that's the only way to automate it. That's what we know. But there is an easier way to do that and that is the Power Query. So then, if you have saved these queries or these steps here, it becomes simpler for you to actually perform these actions. Now, what are the other actions that you can do? We are definitely going to go deeper in the next videos, but just let's look at the ribbon on the top that you can see just to give you a hint of what you can do with Power Query. If you see the ribbon on the top, it has the home tab just like Excel, where everything about your formatting or making any change or any transforming your data to a particular uh, d- for particular data for analysis, you can do it from the home tab, like deleting some rows or columns, or even making any change to your formatting, like changing the data type. That data type is your changing your format of the column to a particular percentage or currency or text. All these things which are already available in Excel under the number group is available here. You have merge queries and append queries, which again, where you combine more than one queries or more than one tables together. That can be done by using these two options and more things that can be done. If you go to the next one, you see the transform. The transform has all the transformation functions that is available in Power Query. Few of the confirmation functions are already available under home screen, which is the common ones, but there are more of them that are available here. Things like group, things like transpose, which we already know in Excel available. Then again, your data change, that is the format change, unpivot, pivot, convert to list, and all these things are available in the transform data. You can also do the extraction, which is the function which is the formula that we use in Excel, the right, left, and the mid function. This can be done here by using the extract function, which is already given on the transform tab. Add column is where you add an additional column of the transform data. That means that if you want to capitalize your name, let's say customer name is in the proper form, and you want everything to be capitalized, but you do not want to change the data in the existing column, but you want to add additional column to change the format, you can do that by going on to the add column. Add column can also be used when you have a condition. For example, in Excel, when we have a condition like anybody in the sales uh, department will get a bonus or a commission of 20,000, what do we use? We use a if function. Similarly, you can use a if function inside the add column option or inside the Power Query by using the add column option, where the column will be added with the new condition. Next that we have here is your view column or the view tab. The view tab is more of how does your Power Query window looks to you. Just like in Excel, we have a few things that you can do from the view tab, where you can actually remove your formula bar. Same thing is available here also, where you remove the tick from the formula bar option and it will go away. So there are few such things available in the view tab here, which shows you the layout or the data preview options available in the view tab. So this is about your ribbon and your interface of your Power Query. So one was about how do you export the data by using the Power Query editor or the get data option from your list, and we will see how we can do more things of cleaning data in the next videos. But let's see one more example of how do you export your data through the website. Now, before we move ahead, there is something when I have to close this information, if I have made any changes onto the Power Query, I can click on close and load and just say close and load. So that will load the data onto my Excel sheet where I am sitting now. It's the same like load and load to, just like when we had got it or transformed the data or exported the data, when we got this information by using load or load to, same thing, it is close and load and close and load to. So we can decide what we want. As of now, I'm going to do close and load, so it automatically loads onto the worksheet that is open. You can see on the right hand side the queries are automatically updated and it says 100 rows loaded. As in when there is any changes, it will automatically say the number of rows that is being loaded here. I'm going to pick up the next sheet here, and in this next sheet I'm going to show you how you can actually get your data from the website. So let's say I'm going to pick up again, going on to the data, and in this case I will use the from web, which is automatically available as the icon here. If not available, you can go on to from the file, sorry, from the other sources and click on from web, and then you can enter the website address from which you want to pick up the data. So from the web here, I'm going to enter the website address from where I want to pick up the data. Once I do that, I can click on OK, and it will start loading the information from that particular website. Just be sure that you have your internet connection so that you can use this from the web. Otherwise, it will not load. It will give you an error. So as soon as you do that, again you see the navigator window, and again you will get the options as to which one you want to pick up from this website as well. And the right one you can just pick up from this website by clicking on that particular data. So let's say I'm just going to pick up the center publication matrix. If I click on document, it doesn't give me too much information, so I'm going to go on to the central. This is what I want to pick up from the list. Again, I can say load or transform, whichever I find it suitable for me. I click on transform, I go on to the Power Query editor window. Here I can edit or update any information that I want to, or clean the data, and then close and load the information onto my Excel sheet. So here you can see all the data that is available, and here you have the total at the end. Let's say I do not want the total to be shown at the end. You can always filter that out if you want to. So by just clicking on this, just like we do a simple filter, I can say text filter and I can say equals to total, because I do not want to show the total at the end. So I'll say equals total, so that it doesn't show up on my screen here or on my data. And why would I not want the total? Because when I'm creating a pivot, the total will be an hindrance for me. So because I only have one condition, I'm just going to say that. Just remember or be very, very careful, your Power Query editor is case sensitive. So if you are entering any information here, you have to be very sure that it is exactly shown, or the exact, if it is capitalized or it is small letters, or even if it is proper, you have to put it accordingly. Only then it will filter it out. As soon as I do that, you can see that a new step is added here to the list, and that is called as the filter rows. I think we got a wrong one, because if I want to make any changes, I think I got the filter one as saying only I want the total, but we want to remove the total. So I'm just going to say does not equal instead of equal. So I'll say does not equal. So if you want to make the changes, let's say you make some mistake, you can always click on this setting kind of a button, which is a wheel kind of a button. Click on that for that particular step. Once you click on that, that window will open up, and now you can say does not equal total. And once you get there, all the data will be available except the total will be filtered out. How do you see that? You can just click on this and just scroll it till the end, and the total is removed from the list. So this is how you can actually get your information onto the database. Now, because I have made changes and I have run this list, I can just close and load, say close and load from here. And it will get added to my new sheet, which I have here. You can see that it is getting updated now. It's loading the data onto my spreadsheet. You can see that it is 112 rows loaded onto my Excel sheet, and the Excel sheet name is the same as what was the name of that particular data. Of course, we did not change the name of the query this time, which we can by going back to the query design tab or the query editor tab, and there you can change the name. So you can go on to query and say edit, or just right click and say edit, or rather just click on this, double click on this, and it will automatically take you to that particular data. So either ways is correct. You can just go on to those links and open that particular tab, make the changes and come back. Because you have made those changes or added those steps, every time there is any change to the data on the website, it will automatically get updated. What you need to do is it doesn't get updated automatically. You have to go on to the data or the query and refresh it. So just go on to query and click on refresh, or right click on it and say refresh, or just go on to the data and say refresh. So either ways it will be fine to work on. So this is how your Power Query really works. So there are a lot of things to learn in the Power Query. Of course, in the next video, I'm going to show you how to clean your data and add those steps, just like we have seen one step added to your one of the query here. We will see how to add those steps to your the Power Query or your database, so that you can clean it every time there is a data that is being added. So for example, if you have a huge data where you have to keep removing all the unwanted data, like blank data or data that is throwing error, or if there is a format change, every time there is a format that is changed to text and you want to change it to numbers and then load it on your Excel. Otherwise, you would have done VBA, but here in Power Query, it automatically refreshes it once you add that step. So we are going to see that in the near future in the next video. So keep watching for more of such tutorials on Power Query, and thank you.